Welcome everybody to the longest running league-oriented fantasy football podcast, the KAEP. The only way they're going to catch up is if we slow down, and you know that's not going to happen. Week 3 is done and over, and now 3 weeks into the season, you're starting to see a lot of trends as the data comes in and a lot more games decided on Monday night. It seems like a lot more than usual. We also see trends in points scored, trends in points against, and trends into last-minute losses. And we're going to see how all those trends play out here in Week 3. We'll point them out as they come up. We're also starting to see teams emerge. We're starting to see the teams that are for real and those that are just pretending. We also see incredible trends from the actual NFL players. We're going to get into all of that as it comes up. So enough is enough. Let's dive into Week 3's action, beginning with the Game of the Week. It's Jared Kobasic as Northern Kid up against Juan Guzman and the Orange Crush. And let me tell you, these guys know how to make a Thursday night Week 3 game between the Jaguars and Dolphins must-see TV. They both sat Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson and picked up Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Gardner Minshew started them. I know, at least for me, I was tuning in to see the train wreck that those substitutions might have made. Juan, he picked up Ryan Fitzpatrick, starting him over Deshaun Watson, and Fitzmagic went off 160 yards, 3 total touchdowns to the tune of 26.6 points. We know Ryan Fitzmagic, he's got an arm, but in this game, he was showing off the legs. Oh, at his age, he's still motoring around. Jared with some stones, benching Aaron Rodgers and starting Gardner Minshew, and let's just say that he did not get the type of results that he wanted. But he did have James Robinson. He made up for those points. He had 46 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 24.9 points on Thursday. In the Sunday games, Juan Guzman, he started Austin Eckler, and oh, what an effort. He had 59 yards, 1 touchdown, 20.3 points, and the Cleveland defense all over Dwayne Haskins and the Washington football team. They had 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. They only allowed 20 points. Cleveland defense gives Juan 14.8 points. Oh, but Jared had the Tampa Bay defense. For the Denver quarterback, they made his life miserable all day. 2 interceptions, a safety, a block punt, 18.7 points for the Tampa Bay defense. But going into Sunday night, Juan, he had everybody played, had 115.1 points. Jared, he was down 27.7 points. He had Mason Crosby and Lazard. Oh, Mason Crosby from 50 yards plus starts getting it going. That's an extra 2 points. So that's actually a 5-point field goal right there. Lazard being the target on deep passes, and he hauls it in inside the 5. And come on, you gotta reward him. Couple plays later, Rodgers finds Lazard, and at this point is when Juan Guzman begins to get nervous. Crosby would keep hitting field goals. Lazard would keep catching them big long passes, chunks of yards at a time. And in the 4th quarter of the Sunday night game, 8 minutes remaining, they bring on Mason Crosby for a 49-yard field goal. At this point, if he misses it, the game is pretty much done for Jared. But Mason Crosby proves true. He would pad that lead with another extra point, and Lazard would add just a few more points with his incredible night. He finished with 6 receptions, 146 yards, a touchdown, 20.4 points. Mason Crosby, oh, the Mason Crosby watch. He nails 16 points, and Jared Kobasic, Northern Kid, comes from behind, overcoming a 27.7 point deficit, overcoming it with not superstar players, well, except for maybe Mason Crosby, but Lazard and Crosby combined pull Northern Kid through, and he'll have his first win of the season. And Orange Crush, another heartbreaker, brother. I feel you. You'll see what I mean. So with the victory, Jared Kobasic gets his first win of the season, improves to 1-2, and Juan the Orange Crush, he goes to 0-3. Moving on to the next game on the tally, RJ rolling with the homies, coming up against Peter and I Love TDs. And old man Big Ben, he's been good to me so far this year. He starts off the early games with 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 20.8 points. And Nick Chubb, what a stud. Look at the effort. He continues to produce. Both him and Kareem Hunt kind of reminds you of that Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram connection a couple of years ago over there with the Saints. Nick Chubb, he'd rush for 108 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 23 points even. But RJ chipped away at the lead. Ezekiel Elliott, he had a touchdown, almost 12 points. Keenan Allen, he had 17.2 points. Kenny Golladay, heck, even he's catching touchdowns. That's 11.7 points, and that sounds like a lot. But going into Monday night, RJ, rolling with my homies, was down 27.4 points. He had his boy Patrick Mahomes and Justin Tucker. And by halftime, this thing was over. Patrick Mahomes in the first half alone, 4 total touchdowns. I didn't even bother to stay up and watch the rest of the game. Tucker, of course, he never misses. He piled on 9 points. And Patrick, rolling with my homies, he's overcoming double-digit leads in the NFL and in fantasy football. That guy's a beast. He would finish with 385 yards, 5 total touchdowns, 44.1 points for Patrick Mahomes alone. Needless to say, rolling with my homies went rolling all over I Love TDs. And for the 3rd straight week, I Love TDs loses the game on Monday night. He's become the Monday night monster. Just cannot survive it. Look at that graphic right there. I can't buy a victory. RJ, he moves to 3-0, first year here in the LVFL, but you can tell it's not his first year playing fantasy football. And I Love TDs, it looks like it is his first year. The Monday Night Monster, he drops to 0-3. Moving along to the next game on the tally, it was Hurricane Laura facing off with Jordan. Rona season, he's got a case of the Rona. In the early games, here we go again with Josh Allen. This is starting to become absurd. He would tally up 311 yards, 5 total touchdowns, 1 interception. He would finish with 36.1 points. This guy's been a beast in the first 3 weeks in the season. So Laura was looking and thinking, some more of the same. But Rain Dakota Prescott, another one having an incredible start to the season. He goes over 400 yards again, 472 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He tallied up 33.7 points, pretty much nullifying Josh Allen. He would also hit Michael Gallup on a score, so she was stacking points. Gallup 138 yards, a touchdown, 19.8 points. And then Laura, what are you going to do? It just isn't fair. Tyler Lockett, 9 receptions, 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, 28 points. When's the last time that guy scored 28 points in fantasy football? Tyler Lockett screwed us both. First and goal from the 1, second and goal from the 2. They couldn't give it to Chris Carson, could they? I could have used them points. Forget Chris Carson, let's throw it to Lockett. And why Pete Carroll insists on calling passing plays from inside the 2 is beyond me. He thought he would have learned his lesson by now. And this is where an absurd situation just straight up became redonkulous. He played the Colts defense, 2 pick sixes, 3 interceptions total, a safety, and only gave up 7 points. The Indianapolis Colts defense scores 26.6 points. And Laura, when you have the Indianapolis Colts actually getting started, and then you have that same Colts defense actually score 27 points almost, it's just not fair. Laura, this might be the strongest strength of schedule I've ever seen. Your opponents in the first 3 weeks, 2 of them were ones that had scored the most points that week. The other game, you lost to the person who put up the second most points in the game. And in week 4, it doesn't get any better. You'll be facing the league leader in points, the buzzsaw. That is Josue. That is rough. Laura, if I weren't 0-3 myself, I'd almost feel sorry for you. So Jordan with the victory. He improves to 3-0, and Hurricane Laura drops to 0-3. Coming up here on the next game on the tally, Joey and Vikings Nation takes on Nick Hurliak, his Killer Bees. Speaking of redonkulous, Russell Wilson, another 5-touchdown performance. He lit the Cowboys up for 315 yards and 5 touchdowns, 43.6 points. Again, Josh Allen and Russell Wilson are the talk of the league. You'd get a little bit more help from DeAndre Hopkins. He did all his points on volume, 10 receptions, 137 yards, 13.7 points. And aside from Dalvin Cook for Joey, Dalvin Cook goes off for 181 yards, a touchdown, 23.9 points. What killed you, Nick, was the efficiency of Vikings Nation. Stephon Diggs, 4 receptions, but one of those receptions a touchdown. Kareem Hunt, 46 yards, a touchdown. Adam Thielen, 3 receptions, one of those a touchdown. Mike Gesicki, 1 reception, and you guessed it, it was a touchdown. But it was still kind of close heading into Monday night. Nick down 20-ish points. He had Mark Andrews, and 20-ish points for a tight end is a tall order for anyone. Nick and Russell Wilson scored 43.6 points. The rest of the team combined 42 points. Joey, he's on a rampage in his comeback. He improves to 2-1, and Nick, Killer Bees, he drops to 1-2. Coming up now on the last game on the tally, Josue and Raider Nation taking on Pedro Da Chief. These guys had like half their squad playing on Monday night. It was 40-something to 40-something after Sunday's games. Kyler Murray, another huge day, 270 yards, 3 total touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And in the Sunday night game, Josue, he had Alvin the Natural Kamara. Da Chief, he was starting Aaron Jones. Oh, and these 2 guys would go at each other mano a mano. Aaron Jones, he finished up with a modest day, modest for Aaron Jones. He's been big this year. He had 69 yards, a touchdown for 14.6 points. But Alvin the Natural Kamara, 58 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Look at this 52-yard touchdown. The guy almost slows down to a jog and still makes it in. You've also got a rejuvenated Todd Gurley II. He found the end zone. He had 14.2 points. But going into Monday night, Josue, he had a 17-point lead and still had Lamar Jackson, Harrison Butker, the Baltimore defense, and Travis Kelce. There just wasn't enough firepower on Pedro's side on Monday night. Josue, he ends up running away with it, and he's running away with the league scoring title. Josue, number 1 in the power rankings in the LVFL. He goes to 3-0, and Pedro Da Chief, he drops to 2-1. Week 3 is in the books. So far, fantasy football, when it's been good to you, it's been nothing but points, and when it's been bad to you, it's nothing but losses. Peter and Laura wondering what to do. Laura's facing off the hardest teams in the LVFL, and Peter, his opponents just keep getting lucky on him. That's why I say I'd rather be lucky than good on any day, but whatever. So with week 3 in the books, it's time to hand out some cheese. The offensive player of the week goes to RJ, rolling with my homies, Patrick Mahomes, 385 yards, 5 total touchdowns, a whopping 44.1 points on Monday night, destroying any hopes of a Monday night victory for Peter. And speaking of Peter, the offensive snub of the week goes to him, Allen Robinson. 10 receptions, 123 yards, and a touchdown, leaving 18.3 points on the bench, but that wouldn't have mattered anyway. Allen Robinson, your offensive snub of the week. So we are moving on to week 4, and something's got to give on week 4. You have 2 0-3 teams facing one another. Hopefully they don't end up like the Bengals and Eagles, 2 0-2 teams, and the game finishes tied. And also we've got the battle of undefeateds, Rona versus Roll with my homies. I expect plenty of trolling to be going on. This is The Cap, the flagship podcast for the LVFL. And to everybody out there in the LVFL universe, we say good night from league offices.